And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Wheelie Podcast, everyone. This episode is sponsored by Momentum, a new brand of lifestyle e-bikes from Giant Group that's designed to deliver a full range of innovative electric, hybrid, and city bikes with premium features, long ranges, and sensor technologies for a natural riding experience that are both energy-saving and fun. Now, this is an extra special episode of the Wheelie Podcast because in addition to having me, your normal host, Micah, and Seth Weintraub out there. How's it going, Seth?
Good.
We are also joined by Levi Conlow. How's it going, Levi?
Yo, super
Awesome.
good. Longtime fan of the show. Thrilled to be here. The iconic "And We're Live" gave me chills to see it live. That was awesome.
Well, we are just excited to have you. Levi is the co-founder and CEO of Lectric Ebikes, which has grown in just under 5 years from a small startup to, in depending how you measure it, the largest e-bike company in the US. So we're really glad to have you here, Levi. And I know that you guys are coming up on a 5-year anniversary tomorrow. So let me be the first to congratulate you guys on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a total rager tomorrow for Robbie and I, just celebrating it. Because, 5 years ago, we were still in my apartment, using the windows with expo markers and like trying to map out like our launch plan and everything. So it's kind of surreal. Dude, it's been almost 5 years of our relationship as well, because I went back through my email and you and I first talked July 2019. So, and that's when I sent you a 1.0 to review, and you put it out in August 2019 as well. So it's been a long history for you and I as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Time flies. It's crazy how far you guys have come. So what has it been like to transition from like 3 dudes in an apartment to a huge team and thousands of bikes moving every day or every week?
Yeah, I still don't think I fully understand or appreciate the size of Lectric, because like it still feels pretty much the same. Like a lot of the founding team, Robbie, my dad, and myself all still work on it together. My first hires, like my best friends, all still work for the company, so I still see them every day. And like we've grown, and now there's 130 some people. But I would say I have pretty close friendships and relationships with all those team members, and I know them on a personal level, or I do my very best to do so. And it kind of just keeps it this like small town feeling of everything. So, I've been in this same building now for several years, but since the time we got into this building, the company has grown 5 times the size, right? So it's like we're very focused on like efficiency and not getting too bloated in either operations or headcount or anything. And so it's allowed it to be pretty painless in the scale side, but there's also been all those periods when we were sold out of inventory, challenges happen. I've faced just about any challenge in the industry. And so those are moments and growth opportunities. But yeah, it just doesn't feel that long ago that Rob and I, kind of made the leap to renting my buddy's garage for $300 a month. That felt like, oh man, like we're really doing this, and we're renting it from him for $300. And then like instantly we were doing like $1 or $2 million in sales every single month from when we started renting from him. So it's just been a weird journey, but I think because it's been with some really awesome people and like building long relationships, like working with you on that very first review, and now working with you on my most recent bike, like it's just cool. Like it just it doesn't feel that abnormal or daunting because it's been with the right people.
That's awesome. And I feel like the culture that you guys have been able to maintain, every time I visit you guys in Phoenix, it still feels like you're, working out of like a living room, but you've got hundreds of people around you shipping thousands of bikes. So I think it's cool that you've maintained that startup feel.
Yeah, no, I'm super focused on it because like Rob and I, like we do this because we love this, like, and it's just we want to enjoy where we show up and who we work with. And we've been able to grow this community and everything, but like I still want to, like when the new Call of Duty came out, I still assigned team members to play on my account and all my friends' accounts to rank us up, so then when we got off work at 5 p.m. we could all play. And like people loved it because everybody was like being paid to play Xbox that day. It was awesome. And so and like the other day I took a good chunk of the team to go see Planet of the Apes. I took another group to go see the Fall Guy. Like it's just I would way rather have fun at work than like dread where I'm going every day. And so no matter what, I try to spice it up.
Levi, that sounds amazing. The work-life balance that you have there. And also, I've been a fan as well for the 5 or almost 5 years that you guys have been in existence. The thing that keeps coming, every time you introduce a new bike, every time, you're there, I'm always wondering, like, how do you guys keep the prices so low, the components and the quality? So, you're not obviously not like the tip top, but you're high quality, low price. And I, from my standpoint, you've kind of taken the industry by storm, because like, there's a couple other players that were kind of like medium, high quality, low price. And you've kind of, I don't want to say you destroyed them, but like you guys are certainly like the leader in that space right now. How do you guys do that? I mean, I know it sounds like you have a very lean operation there. You probably have some great relationships in China and elsewhere. How do you guys do that?
Yeah. So first, it has to do with this way we think of the business model. And so from the very first bike, the XP 1.0, it was make an awesome bike. And if you make it awesome with great componentry and great spec performance, you're going to sell a lot of them. Whether you invest into marketing or not, you will just naturally sell a lot of them, because people will be like, what are these two kids doing at $8.99 delivering a class 3 e-bike? 5 years ago, that was just unheard of. And so we were just like, if we spend $0 on marketing and we are the only employees here, we can do this. And then it worked out way better than we thought. So now we have scale. So then because we have scale, it can supplement all the other business needs. Now we can start to build a team around it. And now we can, so like once we built a team around it, customer service and customer experience skyrockets. Well, that creates more sales, more word of mouth, cheerleaders. Half of Lectric sales still today come from some form of referral, whether it's a person posting on Instagram or someone stopping you and being like, what's this bike? I want to learn more. So that's a huge driver. So we get a bunch of volume that gives us leverage to go negotiate to suppliers. Currently, the only e-bike company that purchases, there is no e-bike company in the world that buys at a larger scale than Lectric. The only e-bike company that is bigger in that form is Giant, but they own their own factories. So when we go to partners and we place an order for 100 or 200,000 pieces of a part, those are quantities that they've never seen before. So then that kind of flows in and we get that advantage there. And Lectric has always sold our first bike profitably. And so as we get scale and efficiencies, margin is created. But the way we've ran this company is we have a margin floor, but also a margin ceiling. And so if our margin goes above this, we reinvest the money and we don't care, because if you're a company that started unprofitably and then you finally get the economies of scale, you so tightly hold on to that margin you created once you get that scale. Well, we don't have to do that. So like, that's why you see us do cool stuff where it's like, yeah, we'll throw hydraulic brakes on the 3.0 and continue to make these bikes even better without changing price point. And then I would say the final reason, being direct to consumer is awesome. It's just like, the brands that are working through bike shops right now, they are giving up 35 to 40%. And so if you were to take a competitor's bike at, $1,500 and you sell it through a bike shop, they're really only getting 900. So that bike, the way I look at it is that's a $900 bike with a $600 commission on it. It's not a $1,500 bike. It's the components. The first person to purchase it for its components paid only $900. So I think that's a huge advantage to Lectric is we haven't budged on that, which has allowed it to be still exciting for the brand because we feel like we haven't shot all of our bullets yet. Like we can confidently say we're the number one seller of e-bike units in the market. We don't have the largest revenue because we are, so affordable and attainable. Our AOV is way lower than others, but we sell more units than anybody else. But then, and until recently, it was all just with 20-inch tire bikes. So now we're finally dipping our toes in 26 and 27 and a half, like more normal looking wheel sizes. And now there's this curiosity of like, well, maybe one day in the future, we do start to explore some of these other avenues, but it's like, we've already gotten to the biggest and we haven't done all the bike styles yet. And we haven't sold through all the channels like big box retail or bike shops or whatever. And the bike shop actually makes up the largest percentage of all e-bike sales for this US market. And we haven't even played in it yet. So it's very fascinating.
Levi, you kind of hinted at an upcoming bike. Is there any other hints that you want to kind of drop on our audience?
Yeah, well, in 6 days, you'll get to see it. And
6 days.
Yeah. So in 6 days, we'll be announcing a new bike. And what I hope people think and see is like Lectric is continuing to double down on like, we're just going to be ultra affordable and not push price up. No matter what the market conditions are, we're willing to fight for the customer. And so it's a fan favorite of Lectric's, and it's getting reversioned, and there's going to be some cool upgrades and optionality with it, and it's going to be sick. And I'll just leave it there.
Fan favorite. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. So now I'm wondering, especially with you guys having a big new reveal coming, a lot of people are worried about these e-bike tariffs we have hanging over our heads.
Me too.
How does that affect
I was
you
worried
guys?
as well.
Yeah, I can imagine you're more worried than anybody.
Yeah, and Charles Trey from the comments is also thinking about that as well.
Yeah, so this is funny because we have this product launch next week and we had a price point in mind, and it's like, shoot, like, do we have to raise our price point in order for us to make this work? But the answer is no. So I think with the right operational efficiencies, and Lectric has not done all of them yet, we still have growth opportunity. We can find more efficiencies and essentially margin to help cover for a lot of those e-bike prices. So I personally am not losing too much sleep about it, but it's definitely top of mind. I think what's worrisome is what it will do to the market, because there will be price increases across the space. It's unavoidable. Some of the larger players and larger volume SKUs, like products like the XP 3.0, has volume where it can absolve it. But then there's other products, even in Lectric's portfolio, where it may not have that volume, and you will see those prices, unfortunately, rise over the next 6 to 12 months. So that is one reality of it. But yeah, I what's worrisome is the state of some companies in the market and how they will be able to handle it. Because prior to this, I've had a number of conversations with other e-bike CEOs and what have you. And they are already they're not profitable, right? They're losing money, and a lot of them have been in really rough financial positions for the past 1 to 2 years. And now you add in tariffs, which is going to drive down their margin, on the bike side. Let's say it's another 10 to 15%, depending on how they do their markups. It's going to drop them another 15%. If they're already losing money, this is just going to drive them deeper, and tariffs have to be paid at the time of import. And so there's no cash flow relief there. So if you're an importer of e-bikes, on the small side, maybe you're only paying $100,000 when you import in tariffs, but on the high side, it will be $500,000 or maybe even $1 million in tariff now on a single entry of your e-bikes. Well, you got to pay that right away in order to get customs to release it. You may not have the financial capability. So I think this is going to cause a massive weeding out in the industry.
Interesting.
I think it's just going to push a ton of people, because also if you're investors, you eventually just throw your hands up. You were already losing money.
Never going to make money if this is the case.
Yeah. And now there's this. Now it's just like, what's going to happen? But what's unfortunate is the last 2 years for the market has been pretty challenging. Lectric has grown every single year, and that's due to our community. But the market had significant downsizing last year. It was in excess of 20%. But when we look at where the market is today, the first 3 months of the year, holistically, the bicycle market as a whole, it's the first time we're seeing growth since July 2022.
Oh, wow.
That
basically
there was
the end of COVID, right?
Yeah. That there was ever a year-over-year growth was, it's July 2021. And then it was a decline all the way through. Yeah. And so it's been nearly 24 months of this downturn. And finally, we're starting to see the overall bicycle market and the e-bike market start to grow. So exciting. But now we have this hanging over our heads. I think it's just couldn't be worse timing.
And to be specific, the tariffs are on the bikes themselves or on the batteries. And are you guys considering offshoring, out of China, Vietnam, India, whatever?
Yeah, I think we are exploring all options. But again, there's a lot of operational efficiencies that I would say are lower hanging fruit than a total production switchover, because we have built out our whole quality team and all of our operations. So it's not something I'm rushing to do, because I think you got to be very careful on how you execute it. But yeah, I think I'm sorry. What was the other part of your question?
Also batteries, I think.
Yeah.
Batteries. Yeah. So e-bikes will be hit with the battery tariff that was announced, but it is not until 2026. And we don't know in 2026 when that will take effect, but they will be hit with the 100% tariff in 2026. Today, I believe e-bike batteries are hit with the 7.5%.
Okay. So you have some time to make some moves if that is indeed what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind if I do some questions from the comments here?
Sure.
One Ty Yamnitz asks that, you guys are in Phoenix. Is there a storefront at the HQ, or is it, will there be one?
Yeah. So that's like our only showroom is our Phoenix headquarters. You can get some sweet deals on bikes there. I would say don't come tomorrow, because tomorrow it will be shut down. And I'm going to have
champagne and cigars everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
I got champagne and I got cigars, and it is a party. So unless you're looking to party, don't show up to the HQ tomorrow.
There's going to be 6,000 people there.
Yeah.
Don't scare us with a good time.
Yeah. Oh, I made it too tempting.
All right. Another question from Fred Borgia. When are the lights coming back into stock?
Yes, that is. Let's check back in a week on that one.
Oh, okay. I think we know. 5x in 5 years is nice. What is different about Lectric's business model that makes it more profitable? I think we talked about that a little bit, but maybe you can sum that up.
Yeah, I think just economies of scale and being direct to consumer. And also just like we do not spend that much on marketing. Like if you look at the marketing budgets of other players in the space, like our CPCs are the industry's lowest, even though we're the largest. So it's stuff like that. That's just interesting.
All right. Any last questions, Micah?
Yeah, is there anything that most people don't know about Lectric that they might be surprised by, to put you on the spot?
I think I still think we're a pretty small company, right? The whole team is only 130 people. And then I think the other thing is our philanthropy. I don't think a lot of people know how much we give and how important that is to our business, right? I've always said selling e-bikes and electrifying people's transportation is our job. So that can't be the end all be all, because that's what we're paid to do essentially, right? If we actually want to be a company that leads, and I've discussed this with you, like I want to lead the industry in the number of bikes sold. I don't care about leading the industry in bike units, or excuse me, bike revenue. Like I care about selling the most amount of bikes. I care about having the best NPS score, where like customer service and experience is, bar none, just the best that you can offer. But I also do want to lead in giving. And I would say so far, Lectric has proved that. And we're only 5 years into our business. Like if I just think of the millions of dollars that we've invested into orphanages, schools, giving e-bikes away at a scale that some states aren't even doing it at. It's really cool, but that's also just like for a company that's only 5 years old. Well, we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep scaling. So what cool things can we be doing in 5 years from now? How many more special projects can we do? We did a desalinization project last year, which cost us $500,000, and it provides clean water for 10,000 people in Mombasa, Kenya for the next 20 years.
Wow.
Well, as this company gets bigger, how can I do projects that make that look tiny? That is what is interesting to me. And I want people to know that when you're purchasing from Lectric, that's the team that you're investing into, right? When you buy from a bike company or whatever, you got to be worried about all sorts of things. The performance, is it going to meet it? The service that you're going to be getting, but also just at the end of the day, what type of corporation is it, right? And I really want people to be proud of who they're working with, who they're working for, because my team here, I want them to be proud of us, but also in a way, my riders, my customers are my most powerful sales force out there. When they go refer the bike, I want them to be proud of who they referred to. So that's definitely a cool thing and something we're not going to slow down on.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's important to just point out also that like the scale that you guys give is unmatched in the industry. I don't know the most recent numbers, but I know for last year you guys gave out more than $1 million in bikes and more than $1 million in donations. And I think some of the cool things that you guys do also is I remember last year you had like an allowance that basically each employee could decide where that donation went to. So things like that I just think are incredible, that you don't have to do that. Like it comes out of your bottom line, but you guys do it because you feel it's important. So I think that more people know that.
Yeah, no, thank you, man.
Absolutely. So I think that's all the questions from the commenters, unless I missed any, Seth.
Nope, that's it.
Awesome.
Wicked.
Well, Levi, we really appreciate you coming on the show with us and sharing all your personal insight, your stories, and your experience. This has been eye-opening for us, and I'm sure for our watchers.
Yeah, right on. Well, I'm going to jump
much,
on
Levi.
the YouTube stream and watch the rest of this video. So I appreciate you guys. Big fan.
Take care. All right. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun talking to Levi. He's got a lot of energy.
All right. Did we talk about the Express? I guess we didn't talk about it. Maybe we should talk
Yeah,
about
well,
it real quick.
that was up there just as the most recent unveiling. But
Okay.
yeah, it was unveiled a couple months ago, so we can move forward to the next story.
All right. It was kind of cool. We got that little scoopage too.
And did a little scooping.
All right. Let's see where we're at. The most affordable DIY e-bike kit company just launched a $349 version.
Yeah, this is about as cheap as you can get for a good electric bike conversion kit. This is from a UK-based company called Swytch, and they've been in business for years and years. I think since at least 2019, I think, probably around the age of electric. And their newest kit has these Go batteries that you're looking at here if you're watching the live stream with us here. And these are very small batteries. They're designed to Velcro right onto the frame, and then they match with the company's front hub kit. And so it's all super easy to install. You pop on a front wheel, you Velcro on a battery. The battery also includes all the electronics, so you're not, adding a controller and this and that as well. And you've got a very simple but pretty darn effective e-bike kit. I've used a previous version of the Swytch kit. We did a review on Electrek as well. I haven't used these batteries, but it definitely got high marks for me as being a very simple to install kit. Their newest one, it looks a lot sleeker. It doesn't have that like zippered bag on the handlebars for the battery. So the aesthetics are definitely improving. But at $349, I mean, that's an incredible price. Now, I will say this is a low power kit. It's only 250 watts. It's designed to be EU legal, and so this is not a speedster. This is not a high power e-bike kit. It's designed for people that are generally used to cycling, that just want a boost kind of thing, and that's more in line with these European style electric bikes that we see. But for a low power kit, it definitely has what most people are going to need. And the last kind of cool thing is that there's a throttle option if you do want to use a throttle. I don't think you can get it in Europe, but for North American customers, you can order the throttle.
Yeah, I mean, with 250 watts, probably not a lot of throttle usage. It's probably you want to spend put some power on the wheels. But I love the fact that Swytch Swytch has been around for a while. We've seen them mount the batteries on the front of the bike, and that always seemed a little awkward and weird. Not weird, but like it just seemed like a very temporary kind of solution. This thing seems a little bit more, I don't want to say permanent, but it looks a little bit like it's going to be balanced a little bit better. So definitely like to see that. Obviously, the 349 price point is amazing. What else? Let's see. When are these going to be in the US?
So I think there's still a few months out. That's one other thing here is that to get that $349 price, you're basically signing up for the wait list. They do say they've got a version that will ship more immediately, but that's twice the price. So I think what they're doing is kind of smoothing out demand, because in the past they've had supply issues where they just took them months and months to get people's kits out to them. I think each time they launch a new kit, they're inundated with demand. And then there's a lot of unhappy customers who are, saying, "Where's my kit I bought months ago?" So I think they're using this big discount to smooth out that demand.
All right. Well, it looks great. We'll look forward to getting one in the testing area soon. And let's move on. There's a big problem with McLaren's world's most powerful trail legal electric mountain bike.
McLaren just launched these maybe a week ago or so, and it's interesting because we've got two different styles of bikes here, both hardtail and full suspension, and two versions of each, one for the US and one for Europe. So higher power for the US or for the North American market. They describe it as the world's most powerful trail legal electric bikes. The problem is they're not. So
Slight problem.
Yeah, the EU version's 250 watts, which is the same as every other bike in Europe. It's like saying you got the tallest 6-foot ladder, and the US version 600 watts, which is significantly below the 750 watt limit to be trail legal on most trails that limit to class 1 or class 3 electric bikes in the US. Now every trail is different. state land versus private land. If you're on private land, you can have whatever the heck you want. But assuming we're going to limit ourselves to like class 1, which is the most widely accepted on trails in the US, on national parks, that sort of thing, you've got up to 750 watts. So it's a little bit weird for McLaren to come out and be like, we've got the most powerful trail legal e-bikes, when they're not even at the limit that's allowable by law, and many other e-bikes are at or above. Now, they are very torquey. I think it was 120 Newton meters or something like that. So there's a chance that they're kind of basing that off of their higher torque number. But even so, there are other higher torque trail legal electric mountain bikes out there. So it's a bit dubious at best and disingenuous at worst here to claim this. That being said, they still look like really, really nice bikes. Now, it's from McLaren, so it's going to be expensive, but they're really high quality, carbon, really nice SRAM drivetrains, a built-in handlebar display. I mean, everything about this is super high end. That also means they come with high end prices. So even the most basic 250 watt hardtail version starts at, I believe, $7,000 or $8,000 at least. Then it goes up to I believe $12,000 for the highest spec model here that has just top of the line components. But this is not going to be an entry level bike. This is not something that you buy unless you've got some serious cash laying around, or you want to park it in your garage next to your real McLaren. So just kind of surprising to me to see them go this direction, at least the marketing, if not the design itself.
Yeah, they should just kind of stick with how awesome the bike is and not, any superlatives on best, fastest, strongest. Speaking of great bikes, let me do the sponsor read. Today's episode is sponsored by Momentum, a new brand of lifestyle e-bikes from Giant Group designed to deliver a full range of innovative electric, hybrid, and city bikes with premium features, long assist ranges, and sensor technologies that offer natural riding experiences that are both energy-saving and fun. From best-in-class technology to everyday comfort and that extra something that will turn heads, the team at Momentum has designed a growing selection of two-wheel rides and accessories inspired by you. Whether it's a leisurely ride on a new Vita E low step, throttling up to the new Cedo E Plus, or loading up the Pack Yak E Plus cargo bike for a day with the family, Momentum has an e-bike and accessories to fit your lifestyle. Since Momentum is a bicycling brand under Giant Group, customers can take advantage of access, support, and service from over 1,200 brick-and-mortar Giant dealers in the U.S. alone. Perfect for easy maintenance to keep your e-bike in tip-top form. Learn more at momentum-biking.com. And of course, thank you again to Momentum for sponsoring today's podcast.
Definitely.
All right, we're going to move on to Texas-based Mod Bikes launches 28 mile per hour full suspension adventure e-bike.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to try this briefly when I was at South by Southwest in March. They had a couple of pre-production prototypes there when I visited Mod's headquarters in Austin, Texas. And this was a really fun bike to ride. It's basically a full suspension mountain bike. It's got, I think, either 2.5 or 3-inch tires, so they're quite wide. It's not a fat tire bike, so it's still nimble like a traditional mountain bike. It's a little rear heavy because it's got that big 750 watt motor in rear, but it's definitely fun for whipping around, and it feels like a traditional, well-designed full suspension mountain bike. That being said, it comes with a lot more than most of these direct-to-consumer electric mountain bikes. It's got Mod's Connect system, which they just rolled out on all of their bikes, and it's a way to wirelessly connect with a lot of different accessories. One of the ones they showed off while I was there, and I got to test out, it connects with Lumos's helm, which is one of their first partnerships. So you can actually control the turn signals and the lights in the helmet from the bike. So like when you're making a turn and you hit the turn signal button on the handlebars, your helmet's going to start blinking on one side. Or when you pull those brake levers, your helmet's brake light is going to start flashing. So there's a lot of partnerships like that they're working on to integrate into their Bluetooth Connect system. And it it's definitely one of those things that's going to grow over time. But it's cool to see some of those first partnerships there. They've also got their new torque sensor, which at least for me on a mountain bike, I think makes a huge difference, because this is the kind of bike you really want to pedal. Like, yeah, a lot of people are going to commute with them, and if you're on a long straightaway, that throttle can be nice. But when you're on trails, you're really out there kind of for the experience, right? And so having a really natural feeling pedal assist is going to be important for a lot of people. So it's great to see that torque sensor there. They've got, let's see, I think I mentioned the new color display, but basically it's a pretty nice electric mountain bike here. Now it's surprisingly expensive, I will say. I think it's $29.99, so just under $3,000. Does have some pretty parts. I think it's 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes, but this is going to be a pricier model. Having ridden it myself, I can say that it rides great, but I'm not sure how big the market is going to be at this price point when there are, some other big name mountain bikes out there from companies, like Trek Specialized, etc., that are just going to be, $1,000, $1,500 more kind of thing. If you want that direct-to-consumer experience, you're going to get it with Mod. It's also just a really cool company with a nice culture. It was great meeting the team there, and they have this sort of like, hipster bike shop feel to them, which I think is really cool. It's not like, one of these corporate companies kind of thing, but still $1,000 is pretty pricey for what's effectively a direct-to-consumer full suspension mountain bike with a, fairly traditional aluminum frame, even if it does ride as nicely as it does.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to kind of thread the needle between the bike stores and the drop ships, and what you're saying is, they didn't add enough, high-end componentry, or, having, a bike shop kind of partnership, or what you're saying is, great bike, but maybe not worth the extra.
This price point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it works great. It's just, I don't know, if it was 2,500, then I could see it. 3,000, it's a bit pricey in my opinion.
Yeah, well, maybe they're also kind of planning for the Chinese tariffs, and maybe there's some Black Friday type of deals and stuff like that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Let's move on to New York City. Congestion pricing is coming. Here's how to get out of this. I love this as somebody who's goes to New York quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to rely on you for like the personal experience here, but there's a very simple way to get out of New York's upcoming congestion pricing, which is going to be between like 15 to 30 bucks, depending on when and how and what vehicle you're using to get into Manhattan. There are basically two ways to get out of it. One is to switch to driving an ambulance, and the second is to switch to riding a bike.
Okay.
And that's the one that I think is going to be more reasonable for more people, unless you happen to have an ambulance as your second vehicle.
Maybe you're like Ghostbusters or something.
There you go. Yeah, find an old used ambulance. But I think that, for first of all, who wants to drive around Manhattan, right? Like, it's not a pleasurable experience. Even if you're like car culture kind of person, like that's where you go to like just want to tear your hair out. I mean, traffic is moving at, I think the most recent number I saw is 7 mile/hour average traffic speed in Manhattan. So, it's not a pleasurable experience. If you're coming over the bridges, or if you're coming in from, New Jersey, or taking the subway, having a folding bike that you can take on the subway, or just riding over the bridges on any bike, especially an electric bike that can make those longer trips feel less lengthy. To me, that's just like the best way to get around New York. I mean, it's already a walkable place to begin with, so like you don't even need a bike for a lot of it. But if you're going further, an e-bike makes so much sense, especially as they continue to expand bike lanes. I know, not a lot of bike lanes are super friendly with, delivery trucks parked in them, and, all the potholes and stuff. But still, I would rather be in those bike lanes than driving a car any day. And the whole spirit of this upcoming congestion pricing is exactly that. Like, there's too many cars in Manhattan. It's too tough to get around. They cause all sorts of health issues, from the danger of the cars themselves to pedestrians and cyclists to all of the emissions, the tire emissions, everything. And so if the spirit of congestion pricing is to reduce the number of cars in the city, then I think embracing that and switching to a bicycle is a great time to do it, let alone saving, dozens, if not $100 a week just on congestion pricing. But Seth, I know you've spent a lot more time commuting around New York City. Is an e-bike an effective way to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always said that the fastest way to get around New York City is on an e-bike. Like, you can pass ambulances, you can pass, basically any vehicle. You could, like, if you're trying to get from downtown to Grand Central and you've got a limited amount of time, an e-bike is going to be your fastest way to get there because you can go around traffic. There's always, traffic you can kind of go through the queues. And when you are kind of riding with traffic, you're riding with traffic. So, unless you're going up the FDR or coming down, going up and down the FDR or the West Side Highway, you're pretty much not going to get any faster than what you're going to be on an e-bike. Getting into the city. So I live in Westchester, which is north of the city. To get into the city, Metro North is, it's the train that I use to get down. It's a beautiful ride down the Hudson, but they're kind of weird about bikes. And, like during rush hours, you can only have a foldable bike and you're not supposed to have an electric bike, but nobody cares as long as it's just, whatever. So it's just kind of, it's not a great way to get your e-bike into the city. There's obviously subways and you have to take those downstairs usually. And that's kind of a hassle with a heavier e-bike. I kind of feel like there's an opportunity if New York really wants to kind of reduce the amount of cars on the road. And it seems like they do. Like, all right, let's make it easier on Metro North and the train lines to bring an e-bike into the city, to ride around the city on your e-bike or a regular bike, obviously, or scooter or whatever type of micro mobility you prefer. I just feel like there's an opportunity there to make it easier and affordable. Now, I also have a problem with the prices of Metro North. For instance, we're, I'd say, 40 minutes north of the city, 45 minutes north of the city by train or by car. They charge us like $10 to $15 per person. So I'm taking my family of 4 down there.
Wow.
That's each way. That's going to be $40 to $60 to get down and then back up. So we're talking about $100, give or take, to get my family down and back up again. It's kind of crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I can go down to New York City and find parking for like $60, and I'm still I'm still better off than taking the train down. Why the heck is it so expensive to do that? No idea. I mean, the service isn't great. Like, the stations aren't well maintained. There doesn't seem to be any reason for it. So, you got to think holistically about this. Like, if you are charging taxes for people coming into the city in cars, take some of that tax money, put it into the, family prices of coming down or, bike, whatever. So there's more needs to be done for sure. But I think, this is a step in the right direction, I guess. But it's not as black and white as it would seem for people like me. So let's move on from that. Last story, visiting the little known Chinese controller maker behind the biggest e-bikes. Lishui factory tour. Maybe you can help me with that pronunciation.
You got closer than I did my first time.
Okay.
I think it's Lishui.
Okay.
Is what I understand is the closest to the correct pronunciation that we can get to. So this is a controller maker that if you ride e-bikes, you've probably used their controllers and just not realized it. What they said is they're in 1 in 3 electric bikes at this point. And they're probably the single largest, or at least have the plurality of e-bikes out there. And in fact, going around their factory while I was there visiting, they had the hallways lined with electric bikes from just about every company you've ever heard of. And these are all the bikes that they use for testing, because these companies use their controllers and their components. And so they have to test everything on these bikes and make sure it's all going to be compatible. It's going to work with different batteries, different throttles, etc. In fact, there are a lot of bikes there that haven't even been released yet because, they go there first to be built up with all the right components. And then months later, they get released in our markets.
Is that why we have the blurring here?
Yeah, I had to pixelate all the bike. And actually, there are low things there and like the front of the pile. Those are like go-karts and scooters and stuff. Like they make controllers for everything. Okay. And so, but they don't disclose who their clients are, and I had to blur it. In fact, there was one bike that is very distinctly colored, and they asked me to like blur that one extra, because even with the blurring, like you can still tell what bike it is. So they're a bit secretive, I guess, about who uses their products, because a lot of their companies, the clients don't want it out there, to know which components they're using, that sort of thing. But it was really cool to go through the process with them and see how they design and build these things. They do so much of it in-house. They have their own engineering team, both on the hardware and the software side. So they're designing the hardware, they're programming the software to make sure it all works well together. In some ways, it's kind of like the Apple of controllers in that way, that it's all done in-house so that it works correctly. There aren't these outside systems. And then on site there, they've got their own production. So, they're producing all their controllers. There are some components that they have prepared off-site, but they send all of the resistors, the transistors, like everything. They send their own components so that circuit board makers can produce them to their spec, and that they're not getting like inferior parts produced that way. They do all their reliability testing. And interestingly, they even have, this was cool to see, on site there, they've got a bunch of gardens and their own farm, and that's where they grow for their on-site cafeteria the food for the workers. Apparently the CEO of the company, or I guess the original founder, he's an older guy now, so he's not the CEO anymore, but he's real into gardening and agriculture. And this guy here on the right, Mr. Shu, I believe is his name. And so he eats in the cafeteria with the workers every day. They all eat the same food, from like the lowly intern to the founder of the company. And it's all grown right there on the grounds of their factory. So I thought that was like kind of a cool little thing as well. But, just from every angle, one of the biggest controller companies in the world in this small little nondescript building, building a lot of the parts that you and I use every day without even realizing it. It was pretty neat to see.
Yeah, that is super cool, and getting the behind the scenes, and also you probably have a good idea of what's coming down the pike in terms of popular e-bikes now that you've seen some of that stuff. So we'll trust your your hints and your background knowledge of all this stuff. It is super cool to see that stuff. So let's head back into the questions here. Let me back out of this real quick. And we can just get rid of that. So after we had Levi on, we had some comments. Mike is the Woj of e-bikes. I think that's Wojciechowski, a guy who does behind the scenes sports stuff on ESPN.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing, unless you're trying to keep a secret, I guess. He's like the secret breaker at ESPN, if that's the guy B is talking about. What other bike brands would you say are doing good things to follow? So I guess we're comparing Lectric's charity work. Do we know about any other charity work from other companies?
I haven't seen a lot. That's why it's so surprising to see not just like how much Lectric is doing, but that they're doing. Because I know philanthropy can be a part of large companies, but when you've got investors, it doesn't help them very much to see that money go to orphanages. So I just haven't seen that much from other e-bike companies.
Yeah. And it's still kind of a mystery to me how they were able to, I mean, it seems like, keeping their expenses low is kind of their secret. And they probably did a lot of work and they love the work. So, and it sounds like they have a fun place to work. So let's move on to talking about the Swytch Bike external motor, 250 watts.
Kit,
yeah, the kit, 250 watts on throttle, not on hills. I mean, if you're in a low enough gear, 250 watts, 250 watts is more than most people put out. So if you got the right gearing, 250 watts will get you up most hills. What thoughts on that?
And that's the thing, is that this kit is really meant for people that are used to pedaling, right? Like, it is a hub motor, so you're going to have to put it in low gear and pedal as well. Like, that motor could get bogged down on a real steep hill. And so this is not the type of kit that you get from Amazon with a 1,000-watt motor that you can take to, the beach and ride along the sand. This is definitely a easygoing city type of conversion kit.
All right, and he continues 2 week for me. Cool kit though. I mean, we're spoiled here in the U.S. I think, anything that's not 750 watts is like whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah.
unfortunately.
All right. Chris Stock had a bad experience with XPs. The batteries did a thermal runaway. They are now useless. Well, I think everybody has some good and some bad, or every company does. And who knows what Chris may be a competitor. We don't know. So good to know. Michael Sprinzis. I started riding an e-bike years ago to avoid the New York City parking hassles and/or prices. Yeah, New York is crazy. The problem is, not everybody has a place to put their e-bike when they're at home and charge their e-bike. And if you're in a walk-up like I used to live in, an e-bike can be, a hassle. And of course, our landlord was like, no e-bikes or no bikes in the hallway or, whatever. So, I had to it was a regular bike at the time, but I had to carry my bike up 4 flights of stairs, which sucked. And, knowing that I had to do that, I would probably take it on fewer places. The upside is there's subways and transportation everywhere, city bikes, lots of different ways to get around. All right, Richard Burton says, why haven't you designed, or at least from what I've seen, shown a 3-wheel with a basket in the front and only one lower bar so that the elderly can enjoy biking again? Did I miss something? The design is easy enough. I've sketched it out many times for the best use applications. Well, Richard, we've got tons of tricycles that we've talked about and that have easy foot over. And of course, a basket on the front is, something anybody could add. But Micah, maybe you have a point of view?
Yeah, so definitely for all the basic Delta trikes we've covered, you can do that. And they usually have option for front baskets. I wonder if what he's talking about is the 2 front wheels with a basket between that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If that's the case,
that's more stable.
Yeah. I mean, they have, I think I've seen some of those in Europe. There's actually the Taga bike, which is that design basically, but those are really expensive because you just have a much more complicated steering mechanism up front to link those 2 front wheels, and you're using a significantly less standard parts than you would use on normal Delta trikes that use normal front wheels, normal forks, that kind of stuff. And so anytime you can't use a part that's been produced in the millions, then the prices go up. So those are usually, $3, $4, $5+ $1,000 bikes.
All right. Michael's back. 250 watts on the front wheel, which has no traction. I live in New York City, but on a big hill. I think you're still going to be all right. I like 250 watts and a low gear. You're going to, whatever. But, I don't know what kind of hill you're on. Maybe you're on something weird. He built a cheap POS to lock up anywhere. Just carry my battery with me. That's kind of what you have to do in New York City, because if you have any kind of value on your bike, there's going to be somebody with either a saw or yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. All right, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed that episode, especially having Levi with us in the beginning was super interesting. And we'll be back in another 2 weeks for another episode of the Wheelie Podcast. We'll see you next